Welcome to Short Movie Channel. The movie begins with a girl watching footage from an old video recorded in Mexico. The video shows an archaeologist discovering a mysterious box surrounded by numerous skulls, and his name is Arthur. Then, we see the girl sitting alone in the girls' dormitory, terrified by the strange things she's experiencing. She calls her father to tell him about the weird dreams she's been having, but a strange voice answers, telling her that her father isn't there at the moment. Suddenly, she notices footprints of an unknown person on the floor and senses that something unnatural is happening around her. She follows the source of the sound she hears and sees the same box she spotted earlier. Out of nowhere, the box moves, making her panic and quickly step back. Then, out of nowhere, a strange figure appears behind her, grabs her, and kills her. Next, we are introduced to Amber, an undocumented immigrant from Mexico who decided to move to the US after her mother passed away. We see her walking alone in the street, looking visibly upset. After a while, she arrives at the hotel where she's staying, and the receptionist asks her for an ID because she's been staying there for a while, and he needs it to renew her stay. Amber starts looking nervous. She doesn't want anyone to know that she's originally from Mexico, fearing that they might harass her or even deport her. Later, Amber heads to her job at a garment factory, where she happens to spot an advertisement for a women's boarding house pinned to the wall. Strangely, the rent is extremely low, making it a perfect opportunity for her to save money. She takes the flyer and goes to check out the place, where she meets Reed, the landlord. From the way he talks, it's clear that he's hiding something. Reed tells her that besides her, there's only one other girl living there, a girl named Feria. That means she won't have to deal with much noise or disturbance. He also mentions that Feria doesn't speak English well because she isn't American. When Amber enters her room, she finds it extremely old and run down, even the bed is in terrible condition. But Reed reassures her that he plans to replace the bed as soon as he has the money. He also informs her that smoking is strictly prohibited inside the room. Then, he asks about her nationality, and she hesitantly tells him she's from South America. Reed demands 1 month's rent in advance, but she refuses because she barely has any money left. He warns her that if she doesn't pay, he'll have to kick her out. Amber looks at the little money she has, realizing it won't be enough to last the rest of the month, but she has no choice but to pay him to avoid getting evicted. That night, Amber sits in her room and listens to a recorded voice message from her late mother, where she was telling her how sick she was and begging her not to leave her alone in the hospital. Amber is overcome with guilt, missing her mother terribly, as her life has fallen apart since her passing. At that moment, she hears a strange sound. She follows it, and finds Feria crying hysterically in her room while talking to herself. However, Amber doesn't dwell on it, and continues looking at old pictures of herself and her mother until she dozes off. She recalls the last time her mother played with her hair, only to suddenly feel an actual hand touching her head at that very moment. She is instantly terrified. The next day, Amber rushes to work, and by accident, she bumps into Feria. Feria gives her a strange look and tells her that Reed lied to her about them being the only 2 tenants in the boarding house. Amber is shocked as Feria walks away. She finds it odd but assumes Feria might be crazy. Later at work, Amber can't stop thinking about all the strange events happening around her. She gets so distracted that she starts making mistakes at work, prompting her manager to scold her for not paying attention. She quickly apologizes and promises that it won't happen again. During the break, Amber goes to talk to her friend Kinsey and asks her what happened with the fake ID she had requested. Kinsey then asks Amber why she even wants an ID that says she's from the US in the first place. Amber tells her that having that status would make her more socially acceptable among people, and she also has an important job interview on Friday. She's sure they would reject her if they found out she wasn't American. After work, Amber goes out for dinner with her cousin Peter. We find out that he's married to an American woman, but it's clear that she doesn't like Amber and treats her strangely. Peter reassures Amber not to worry about her interview on Friday, telling her that he has everything planned out. When Amber gets back home, she hears a noise coming from the basement. She goes to check it out and finds claw marks on the door. Just then, Reed sees her and warns her that the basement is off limits to the tenants. He tells her not to go near it again. Feeling embarrassed, she asks him to return her rent deposit because she really needs the money. Reed apologizes, saying he wishes he could help, but he already spent all his money on renovations. Amber goes back to her room and counts her money, realizing she doesn't have enough to pay for the fake ID. Suddenly, she hears a noise coming from Varia's room. She checks but finds that Varia is missing, which confuses her. Later that night, Amber has a dream about her mother mentioning a particular box. She wakes up startled and heads to work the next day. She asks her boss for an advance, but he refuses. However, he offers her a job in the packaging department with better pay, and she has no choice but to accept. While working, she suddenly feels someone touch her shoulder. She quickly turns around, but no one is there. Later that night, after finishing work, she meets up with Kinsey again. Kinsey asks why Amber is so desperate to get the fake ID. Amber confesses that Peter got her a great job opportunity, but one of the conditions is that she must be American. She had lied to Peter, making him believe she was a U.S. citizen. If he finds out the truth, he won't help her anymore. Kinsey decides to help her out, and tells Amber to pay as much as she can while she covers the rest. She promises to get the fake ID for her. Amber is overjoyed and gives Kinsey all the money she has. As Amber walks home, she feels like someone is watching her. But when she turns around, there's no one there. When she finally arrives at her apartment, we see a strange creature observing her from afar. As soon as Amber steps inside, she hears a weird noise, but it suddenly stops. She heads to the kitchen and meets two new girls in the apartment, Miriam and Maria. They offer her a drink, but she tells them she's had too much already and won't be able to go to work the next day if she drinks more. A little later, Reed comes over and tells the new girls that their rooms are ready. As he leaves, Amber tells him she saw a strange man in the apartment, even though Reed had assured her that only women lived there. Reed tells her not to worry. The man she saw is actually his brother Bakri, who is sick and doesn't interact with people at all. He assures her there's nothing to be afraid of. The next day, Amber tries calling Kinsey, but she doesn't answer. She asks the manager at work if he has seen Kinsey, and he tells her that Kinsey sent him a message saying she quit. Amber immediately realizes she's been scammed. Devastated, she returns home and takes a shower, but suddenly, she sees the ghost of a girl staring at her from behind the curtain. The girl disappears moments later. Amber rushes out of the bathroom, frightened, and runs into Reed. She asks him about Varia's whereabouts, and he tells her that she moved out a few days ago. He also tells her that he can return her money the next day since the new tenants have paid their rent. Later, Amber has a nightmare and wakes up in a panic. She hears a strange noise in her room and gets up to investigate. Suddenly, she sees terrifying women appearing before her, telling her that the time is near, and that they need to prepare. Amber is terrified as they move closer to her, but they suddenly vanish. Amber runs out of her room in a panic and ends up near the basement. There, she sees a crying girl, but before Amber can react, the girl is suddenly pulled into the basement. Terrified, Amber rushes back to her room, grabs her things, and calls Peter, begging him to come get her immediately because she's in danger. Peter tells her to call the police, but Amber hesitates. She then confesses the truth: she's an undocumented immigrant and not an American citizen. She lied to him because she needed the job. Peter tells her that he's out of town and unfortunately can't help her at the moment. Desperate, Amber knocks on Reed's door, hoping to get her money. Instead, his brother Bakri answers and tells her that Reed isn't home. He acts strangely and then slams the door in her face. Amber decides to take the metro, but suddenly, she starts hallucinating about her mother's ghost. She becomes terrified and starts feeling like she's losing her mind. She eventually makes it to a restaurant and meets Reed, who tells her that he left her money at the apartment. He also explains that he had an argument with his brother because Bakri didn't want to return the money. Amber notices blood on Reed's face, suggesting that his brother physically hurt him. Reed insists that Amber should come back with him to the apartment, so he can give her money, and she reluctantly agrees. Soon, they arrive at the dorm. Reed asks her to go to her room, where she'll find the money. But when she enters and searches for it, she finds nothing. As she tries to leave, Reed stops her, telling her that his brother Bakri needs her because he's very sick, and that this is his only cure. A moment later, Bakri enters the room, forces her mouth open, and makes her drink alcohol before leaving. Afterward, Miriam and Maria come in, and they talk about the strange things happening in the dorm. Strangely, all three of them keep having the same dreams, seeing a mysterious box. So, they plan to escape together once the brothers are asleep. Then, Amber passes out from exhaustion and starts having a terrifying nightmare, only to wake up to the girls' screams. She sees Reed and Bakri dragging them out of the room. When she tries to save them, Bakri hits her and knocks her to the ground. At the same time, Peter arrives at the dorm and knocks on the door. Reed answers and tells him Amber isn't there. But Peter spots her jacket on the floor and decides to stay. Suddenly, he hears Amber scream and sees her staring at him through the window. Immediately, Peter barges in, rushing to Amber's room and trying to break the door down. Unfortunately, Bakri shows up, beats him, and knocks him out. Then, he tells Reed to go prepare the girls. Time is running out. We learn that Reed and his brother have been lying to the girls in the dorm, using them for sacrificial rituals, offering them to the monster inside the box. Soon after, Bakri takes one of the girls to the basement, while Reed approaches Amber, covering her body and face with dirt. He tells her that her father, an archaeologist named Arser, discovered this box long ago. After finding it, he brought it home and started killing women, sacrificing them to the monster inside. Even his own wife helped. We learn that anyone who offers a sacrifice to this box is healed of any illness. Since Bakri is sick and couldn't afford treatment, he decided to offer victims instead. Bakri carries Amber over his shoulder and takes her to the basement. There, she sees the ghosts of all the women and girls who died in this place. When she reaches the basement, she finds her friend being dragged across the floor, headless. Then, Bakri ties her to the bed, opens the box, and the monster emerges. He leaves to get the last girl while Amber keeps hallucinating, lost in confusion. At one point, she finds herself in a hospital with her mother, begging her not to leave her alone. Just then, the monster comes out of the box and beheads Amber, all while she's asleep, dreaming of her mother. Suddenly, her mother turns into an evil creature, and Amber keeps strangling her until she dies. Amber wakes from the nightmare to find the monster gone, because the monster appears in dreams as someone the victim knows. If the person kills her in the dream, the spirit kills her in reality. But if she resists her fear in the dream and kills that person, she survives. Amber goes upstairs, grabs a stick, and hits Reed until he collapses. Then, she fights Bakri, but he overpowers her, breaking her leg. As he moves in to kill her, Miriam attacks him, but he manages to grab her and throws her down the stairs, killing her. Bakri goes to drag Amber away, but she picks up a piece of glass and keeps hitting him with the stick until he dies. At that moment, the monster emerges from the box and beheads Reed. Amber stumbles out of the basement in shock. Strangely, her broken leg is healed, and the veins on her face are now visible, just like those who sacrificed to the box. She feels a strange happiness, and realizes she must continue this. The film ends. If you liked it, drop a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.